Good late afternoon or perhaps early evening to you, and thanks for joining us. I'm Sage and you're watching Calcine TV live from the Sydney studio, and this is the last show of the day, the last trade. And there's no better way to wind down the day than with the market close commentary, so let's dive in. The Australian shares ended lower for the second consecutive day as rises in COVID-19 cases sparked a sell-off in the market, and investors feared that fresh lockdown restrictions would derail economic recovery. The rising cases of Delta variant in the US and UK, as well as inflation concerns, also injected negativity in the market. The S&P ASX 200 closed 33.80 points, or 0.46% lower, led by mining, energy and utility stocks. Among the individual stocks, oil and gas major Oil Search were the top percentage gainer on the ASX pack, rising 7% after the company rejected a takeover bid from rival Santos. And meanwhile, miner Nickel Mines was the top loser, falling 5.95%. And some of the other worst performers include real estate player Unibail Rodamco Westfield, oil and gas major Santos, English bank Virgin Money UK and energy firm Beach Energy. The equity market remained under pressure as worsening COVID-19 situation in the country left investors jittery. And in the last 24 hours, New South Wales has reported 78 new locally acquired cases, while Victoria recorded 13 new COVID-19 cases, including 4 announced on Monday. To contain the spread of the virus, the government has imposed 1-week lockdowns in South Australia, while Victoria has extended its restrictions for a further 7 days. Let's now see how the sectoral indices performed today. The market breadth indicating the overall strength of the market was weak, with 7 of the 11 sectoral indices ending in red, and the materials sector emerged as the worst performer for the second day, falling 1.6%. Among others, energy and utilities indices also extended losses, dropping over 1% each. And meanwhile, the healthcare sector continued gaining momentum for the second session, rising 0.9%. And among others, information technology, consumer staples and consumer discretionary settled with marginal gains. In the mining space, the Aussie miners 𝐴𝐴XMM extended losses for the second day, weighed down by the spread of the Delta coronavirus variant in the country. And the iron ore miners BHP Group, Rio Tinto and Fortescue Metals Group ended lower owing to the fall in the iron ore prices. And among the gold stocks, Chalice Mining, Evolution Mining and Newcrest Mining ended lower. And meanwhile, other players such as Ramelius Resources and Silver Lake Resources closed higher. In the energy space, the index heavyweights Woodside, Petroleum, Ampol and Santos ended in the red zone. And the ASX listed energy stocks remained under pressure after the crude oil prices tumbled around $5 per barrel on Monday, recording its worst day since March after OPEC Plus nations agreed to boost the production from August. In the banking sector, Australia's Big Four lenders ended on a mixed note. And while the Commonwealth Bank of Australia and Australia and New Zealand Banking Group ended higher, Westpac Banking Corporation and National Australia Bank settled in the red zone. And let's move ahead now, focusing on shares that created a buzz today. Oil and gas producer Oil Search shares emerged as the top performer among the ASX pack after the company rejected a takeover bid from rival Santos. And meanwhile, Santos shares dropped 5.5% to hit an intraday low of $6.45 Australian following the announcement. Oil Search said in a statement it rejected the bid as it was not in the best interest of its shareholders. And earlier today, the company, in an ASX filing, said Santos had submitted a confidential, non-binding, indicative all-scrip merger proposal to the Oil Search board in late June. Let's now take a look at the next company. Global resource company BHP Group saw its shares falling 2.65% to hit an intraday low of $49.16 Australian. Despite reporting robust performance in the financial year 2021, the miner recorded full-year iron ore production near its top end of the forecast range, while its quarterly output declined by 4%. Let's move on now again to the next share. The share price of Sydney Airport dropped as much as 0.75% to $7.85 Australian after the country's only listed airport operator reported a fall in traffic in the month of June. The airport saw its domestic passenger numbers falling 56.8% in June versus the corresponding month in 2019. International passengers also tumbled 93.8% compared to June of 2019. And now, before we look at the shares that are also making the news today, it's time for a short break.
Hi, this is Andy Liu broadcasting from 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚 Media Studio in Australia, and I'll be hosting the new 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚 Wellness Show. The half-hour show will cover topics from how wellness as a concept has become even more significant during COVID, to how becoming vegan may improve your health, and much more. We are excited to showcase our live streaming show to our audience of millions overseas and in Australia. Tune in to 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚 TV and join me.
Welcome back, Sage here. You're watching 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV live from Sydney. This is the last show of the day, the last trade. Let us take a look at the next big company in the news today. Shares of software firm Altium Limited extended losses for the second consecutive session on Tuesday and fell as much as 5.9% to $33.10 Australian. The multinational software firm's shares were under pressure after the company failed to secure a fresh takeover offer from the US peer Autodesk Inc. And let's move on to the next company. Shares of Australia's largest buy now pay later player Afterpay rose as much as 3.9% to reach 109 Australian dollars. Pairing the opening losses, the fintech company's shares opened lower today and declined 1.5% after the company unveiled the plan to launch a new banking app for its customers in Australia come October. And the next big ASX listed share to make the news is electronics retailer JB Hi-Fi, who gained as much as 3.7% to $49.49 Australian amid the optimism over strong earnings. The company shared it has recorded preliminary financial year 21 net profit after tax of 506.1 million Australian dollars. This is up 67% from last year. Let's now take a look at the next company. Shares of oil and gas exploration firm Prominence Energy NL rose as much as 8.3% to 1.3 cents on bagging a new contract. And shares of telecommunication services provider Spirit Technology Solutions Limited jumped as much as 7% to 30.5 cents on strong earnings outlook, and the company shared it sees the financial year 22 underlying operating profit between 19.4 million and 20.2 million Australian dollars and revenue between 150 to 155 million Australian dollars. And the last ASX listed company on our list today is the jewellery retailer Lovisa Holdings Limited, whose share price fell as much as 2.7%, down to $15.58 Australian today. The company stated due to the recent lockdown restrictions it has faced temporary store closures and disruptions to trading in various parts of Australia and Malaysia. And now for the final leg of our show, let's have a quick look at the Asian markets performance. The Asian markets continued to trade lower for the second session, tracking overnight cues from Wall Street that saw sharp selling amid the inflation woes. And the fall in the oil prices and surge in coronavirus cases also dragged the market. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 slipped 0.90%, while South Korea's Kospi declined 0.6%. And Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell 1.2%, and Taiwan's weighted stock index plunged 1.3%. In a similar trend, China's Shanghai Composite traded lower by 0.6%, while India's BSE Sensex dropped 0.8% in the opening deals. And thanks for joining us on that report. That's all for now, but do stay tuned with 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV for more live market updates. We'll be back with more of the news and markets, economies and diverse themes and sectors as close as possible to 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Sage signing off.